Medieval Europe was characterized by feudalism, a decentralized power structure. Manorialism defined economic life, with serfs bound to the land. The Catholic Church exerted immense influence on societal norms and intellectual life. The Renaissance saw the emergence of centralized nation-states. Monarchs increased their power, reducing the influence of feudal lords. Exploration and colonization led to new trade routes and economic systems. The Industrial Revolution marked a pivotal transition to the modern age through technological innovations. Mechanization revolutionized production methods, spurring urbanization and the emergence of new social classes. Advances in communication and transportation reshaped global interactions, accelerating the pace of life and commerce. The Middle Ages started around the 5th century, marking a transition after the Roman Empire's fall. This era spanned approximately 1,000 years, concluding in the 15th century. The Middle Ages are divided into the early, high, and late periods. Medieval society was organized into kingdoms, governed by a feudal system. Castles acted as key centers for defense and the projection of power. Warriors and knights were essential for maintaining order and engaging in conflicts. Scientific progress in the medieval age was notably slower than in subsequent periods. Alchemists primarily sought to transmute common metals into gold. They also aimed to discover the elixir of life, a substance believed to grant immortality. Significant pressure on Rome's borders through constant invasions. These attacks strained Rome's military resources, diverting funds from infrastructure. The empire's ability to maintain control was weakened by the sustained pressure and resource diversion. Ineffective leadership contributed to the empire's instability. Internal corruption further eroded the empire's foundation. Frequent power struggles and inconsistent policies undermined public trust, creating instability. Inflation and excessive taxation severely damaged Rome's financial system. Overspending on military campaigns and public works further strained the economy. Decreased trade revenue led to widespread economic hardship and social unrest, weakening the empire. Following the decline of the Roman Empire, the previously unified territory of Europe underwent significant fragmentation. This fragmentation led to the emergence of numerous, smaller, independent kingdoms. The resulting political landscape was characterized by diverse regional powers competing for control and influence across the continent. The emergence of kingdoms established distinct political entities across Europe. Each kingdom developed its own unique governance and systems of rule. This reshaped the European political landscape, influencing future conflicts and alliances. Charlemagne rose to prominence through consolidating power. He established administrative structures to govern his territories. Charlemagne played a crucial role in shaping the political organization of medieval Europe. The king grants land to nobles, establishing the foundation of the feudal system. Land ownership signifies power and authority within this system. Nobles pledge allegiance and military service in exchange for the land. Landowners are responsible for the protection of peasants on their land. This includes defense against invaders and maintaining order. Peasants provide labor and a portion of their harvest to the landowners in return. Peasants are the primary agricultural producers in a feudal system. The cultivation of land provides essential food and resources. This labor sustains both the peasant class and the ruling noble class, forming a cycle of dependence. Peasants start their day at sunrise, engaging in labor-intensive farming. Activities include plowing fields and sowing seeds, demanding long hours. This cultivation is essential for both sustenance and economic stability. Peasants play a crucial role in local economies through agricultural production. Their labor provides essential goods traded in village markets. This production supports both their livelihoods and the broader economic system. Peasants typically have minimal legal rights within the manorial system. They are largely under the control of landowners and the existing social structure. This lack of legal protection restricts their ability to improve their living conditions and socio-economic standing. The Catholic Church was organized under a strict, hierarchical structure. The Pope held the highest position, followed by cardinals, bishops, and priests. This structure facilitated centralized control over religious doctrines and the uniform dissemination of teachings. Monarchs often sought the Church's approval to legitimize their rule. This reliance granted the Church significant political influence. Papal decrees could sway royal decisions, impacting laws, wars, and succession, thereby intertwining religious and secular power. The Church significantly influenced culture through various artistic mediums. Art, architecture, and music were all shaped by the Church's patronage and aesthetic values. Religious festivals and traditions were integral to daily life, reinforcing the Church's authority. In the bustling courtyard, a young boy stands amidst towering knights, his small frame a stark contrast to their armored might. The clang of steel fills the air as knights spar, their movements precise under the watchful eyes of the knight commander. Clutching his wooden sword, the boy's wide eyes reflect both fear and fierce determination. Torches flicker, casting long shadows as knights feast in the castle's great hall. The air thick with the scent of roasted meat and tales of valor. Sir Baldwin recounts, and so, the brave Sir Kellen, a true testament to the chivalrous spirit. Sir Giles challenges, does chivalry truly serve us, or merely leave us vulnerable? Knights clash on a muddy battlefield, a storm of steel and desperation. Sir Baldwin faces a wounded soldier. Mercy! I beg you, spare me! The wounded enemy soldier cries, his face a mask of pain and pleading. An enemy knight charges, sword raised, threatening Baldwin as he hesitates, torn between duty and compassion. The Crusades significantly altered established trade routes in the Mediterranean and Middle East. This disruption led to the rise of new commercial hubs and trade networks. Control over strategic ports and land routes changed, affecting the movement of goods and wealth between continents. The Crusades enabled a significant exchange of knowledge between Christian and Muslim societies. Architectural styles were transmitted, influencing design aesthetics in both cultures. Scientific advancements and philosophical concepts were shared, promoting intellectual growth. The Crusades significantly altered political alliances and rivalries in both Europe and the Middle East. These conflicts contributed to the emergence of new kingdoms and the weakening of existing powers. The Crusades redefined the relationship between Europe and the Middle East, characterized by alternating periods of conflict and cooperation. During Europe's Dark Ages, Islamic scholars in Baghdad played a crucial role in preserving ancient knowledge. These scholars meticulously translated and maintained Greek and Roman texts. This effort ensured the survival of philosophical, scientific, and mathematical knowledge, which later influenced the Renaissance. Islamic astronomers significantly advanced cosmological understanding. They improved existing models and developed instruments like the astrolabe. These advancements improved measurement accuracy, aiding navigation and calendar making. Islamic physicians pioneered advanced medical practices. These practices included detailed anatomical studies and sophisticated surgical techniques. Islamic hospitals served as hubs for medical learning, patient care, and breakthroughs in pharmacology and disease treatment. Ancient trade routes are gradually being revitalized, fostering renewed economic activity. Caravans are once again traversing long distances, facilitating the exchange of goods between regions. This resurgence strengthens connections between distant communities, promoting trade and cultural exchange. Market squares serve as central hubs for economic activity. The diversity of goods from different regions increases trade volume. This growth highlights the market's importance as an economic center. Towns expanded with new buildings and infrastructure to accommodate growing populations. The revival of trade stimulated urban development. Towns transformed into important economic centers due to increased trade. The scene depicts a vibrant 14th century European city, initially full of life and activity. Visual cues begin to indicate the rapid spread of the Black Death throughout the city. Crowded streets become deserted, and signs of illness become widespread, illustrating the plague's devastating impact. The Black Death caused significant labor shortages across Europe. These shortages crippled agricultural production and disrupted trade networks. The manorial system, the basis of the feudal economy, collapsed due to the pandemic's impact. The decline of feudalism is linked to shifts in the social landscape. Reduced population increased the demand for labor, empowering peasants. Peasants negotiated better terms and transitioned to a market-based economy. Rural to urban migration involves the movement of people from sparsely populated agricultural areas to densely populated urban centers. This shift is often driven by the perception of greater economic opportunities in cities. Cities are viewed as hubs for trade, industry, and employment, attracting individuals seeking advancement. Marketplaces in cities were hubs for the exchange of goods, services, and ideas. Trade networks expanded and diversified, fostering a dynamic economic environment. This economic dynamism attracted more people and resources to urban centers. Urban centers concentrated wealth and talent, fostering patronage of arts and sciences. New buildings, universities, and cultural institutions were constructed, marking intellectual growth. This period saw a rise in artistic innovation, supported by urban development. Renaissance-era libraries served as vital centers for the recovery and study of classical texts. Scholars dedicated themselves to transcribing and translating ancient Greek and Roman manuscripts. This effort facilitated the broader dissemination of classical knowledge throughout Europe. Artists integrate classical sculptures and architectural designs into their work. This fusion combines classical aesthetics with modern artistic techniques. Artists focus on proportion, perspective, and human anatomy inspired by antiquity. Scientists and thinkers analyze ancient scientific treatises. They question and expand upon classical theories through experimentation. Classical knowledge is applied to advance modern scientific understanding. Artistic innovation arises from experimentation with new techniques and materials. This experimentation leads to novel forms of artistic expression and challenges traditional aesthetic norms. Such advancements broaden the scope of artistic possibilities, influencing future artists. Scientific breakthroughs often result from challenging established theories. Innovative methodologies are crucial for making new discoveries. These discoveries reshape our understanding and drive technological progress across various fields. The fusion of art and science yields interdisciplinary creations. This integration fosters creativity and critical thinking. It also inspires new problem-solving approaches across various domains. Early astronomical models relied heavily on philosophical assumptions rather than empirical data. Celestial movements were interpreted through existing doctrines with limited observational testing. Theoretical consistency was prioritized over observational accuracy in these models. Copernicus challenged the widely accepted geocentric model of the universe. He proposed a heliocentric system, positioning the Sun at the center with Earth and other planets revolving around it. This theory was based on mathematical calculations and a re-evaluation of existing astronomical data. Galileo Galilei employed telescopes for astronomical observation. His observations provided empirical evidence supporting the heliocentric model. Observations of Venus's phases and Jupiter's moons contradicted the geocentric view. Aboard the Santa Maria, Christopher Columbus stares westward, the endless ocean shimmering before him under the sun. The mixed crew busies themselves, while Columbus grips the railing, his eyes burning with the vision of new lands. The air vibrates with the creak of wood and the crash of waves, carrying dreams and doubts into the unknown. Vasco da Gama's fleet arrives, slicing through the azure waves towards the Indian coast. a vibrant clash of worlds about to unfold. Indian merchants, in colorful turbans, watch with curiosity and caution as Vasco da Gama steps onto the shore. The air buzzes with exotic birds and unfamiliar tongues, thick with the scent of spices and the salty tang of the sea. Under dim candlelight, Ferdinand Magellan pores over a tattered map, exhaustion etched deeply into his face. The cramped ship creaks and groans, its wooden walls casting long, dancing shadows that amplify the crew's unrest. Driven by an insatiable thirst, Magellan traces a perilous route, blind to the looming consequences. The printing press replicates texts by arranging movable type, inking it, and pressing it onto paper. This mechanical process enables rapid replication, significantly increasing production speed. The efficiency of the printing press marked a major advancement in information dissemination. Before the advent of printing, texts were manually handwritten, limiting the number of copies available. This scarcity restricted knowledge primarily to the elite, impeding widespread societal understanding. Manual text reproduction was a labor-intensive process and susceptible to errors. The printing press significantly increased book accessibility and affordability. This led to a widespread increase in literacy and knowledge dissemination. The rapid distribution of printed materials fostered intellectual growth and societal transformation by democratizing learning. In the dimness of Wittenberg Monastery, a young Martin Luther kneels, his face etched with torment, seeking answers in fervent prayer. Flickering candlelight dances across the stone walls, mirroring Luther's inner turmoil as he pores over Scripture. He wrestles with doubts, his soul yearning for solace amidst the Church's imposing teachings and his own spiritual inadequacy. In Wittenberg, Martin Luther strides purposefully toward the Church, his expression a mask of determination amid the bustling marketplace. The resounding echo of hammer against wood as Luther nails his 95 Theses to the church door. A revolution ignites as the crowd reads with rising murmurs. Martin Luther faces Emperor Charles V, a solitary figure amidst a sea of powerful church officials, the air thick with anticipation. His gaze unwavering, Luther stands defiant before the assembly, his resolve a palpable force against the grandeur of the Diet of Worms. In a moment of profound defiance, Luther declares, "Here I stand, I can do no other," his words echoing through the tense hall. Feudal estates were characterized by a rigid social hierarchy with lords and serfs. The decline of feudalism is marked by the disintegration of this structured system. Contributing factors include land, neglect, and migration away from feudal estates. The scene depicts a grand cathedral in a state of disrepair, symbolizing a decline. Religious symbols are altered or removed, representing the weakening influence of religious authority. New scientific and philosophical ideas challenge traditional doctrines, as represented by open books and scrolls. The scene depicts a shift away from reliance on old texts and instruments. The introduction of maps and charts symbolizes a move towards exploration and empirical observation. This transition marks the decline of medieval thinking and the rise of reason. The modern age is characterized by a rapid increase in scientific discoveries. This surge is largely due to the adoption of the scientific method and empirical observation. Groundbreaking advancements occurred in physics, astronomy, and medicine, challenging traditional beliefs. Political revolutions mark a significant transition in the modern age. Revolutions champion liberty, equality, and popular sovereignty. These ideals led to the overthrow of monarchies and establishment of democratic republics. The modern age is characterized by significant technological advancements. Key inventions such as the printing press, steam engine, and the internet have reshaped society. Continuous technological progress drives economic growth and transforms daily life. Rousseau championed freedom through the social contract. Government legitimacy arises from the governed's consent. Individual liberties are protected under a collective agreement. Voltaire advocated for reason as the key instrument for societal progress. He stressed the importance of critical thinking and challenging established norms. Voltaire also promoted evidence-based decision-making for enlightened policy development. Democratic ideals have significantly shaped the formation of representative governments. These governments emphasize citizen participation in decision-making processes. This participation ensures governmental accountability and upholds popular sovereignty. Early microscopes enabled the observation of microorganisms and cellular structures. This led to the development of germ theory and a better understanding of diseases. The use of microscopes facilitated a shift towards evidence-based medicine. The telescope's invention revolutionized astronomy by providing enhanced clarity in celestial observations. This innovation facilitated groundbreaking discoveries, including the heliocentric model. It also enabled the formulation of the laws of planetary motion, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of the universe. The periodic table organizes chemical elements based on their properties. This organization provides a framework for predicting chemical reactions. It also facilitates the synthesis of new materials, advancing materials science and chemical engineering. The introduction of machines facilitated the creation of factories, consolidating production efforts. This centralization led to a substantial increase in overall production output. Automated processes began to supplant individual craftsmanship, enabling mass production capabilities. Trains and steam engines transformed transportation capabilities. They enabled the swift transport of goods and individuals over extended ranges. This improved connectivity stimulated economic expansion through market growth and efficient distribution systems. The introduction of machines and advanced transportation revolutionized economies. This shift transitioned societies from agrarian-based to industrialized models. The transformation led to increased productivity and new patterns of employment and consumption. The streets of Philadelphia teem with colonists, their faces reflecting the weight of a momentous decision. Banners boldly declare liberty or death, as heated debates ignite among farmers, merchants, and intellectuals. A news crier shouts, "Latest reports from Lexington, bloodshed in Concord." Chandeliers blaze in Versailles' Hall of Mirrors, casting light on King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette amid whispers of crisis. Perfume and polite murmurs fill the air, yet a subtle tension lingers, a dark undercurrent beneath the veneer of extravagance. In shadows, a lone figure watches the royal couple, revolutionary fervor burning in his gaze. A sea of faces surges against the Bastille, a symbol of tyranny. The air vibrates with the roar of cannons and the crackle of musket fire. Revolutionaries clash with royal guards in a violent dance of desperation and defiance. Smoke billows, obscuring the sky. A young woman, draped in revolutionary colors, raises a flag atop the fortress, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Prior to World War I, a network of alliances existed among global powers. These alliances were primarily designed for mutual defense purposes. However, these alliances contributed to the escalation of conflicts. World Wars I and II led to the collapse of empires and subsequent redrawing of national borders. The Treaty of Versailles significantly reshaped European boundaries after World War I. Decolonization movements gained momentum, further altering global geopolitical landscapes. The end of World War II led to the formation of new political alliances and international bodies. Organizations like the United Nations were created to prevent future global conflicts. The emergence of superpowers resulted in a bipolar world order and the Cold War. A whirlwind of colonial power sweeps across continents, showing British administrators in India and French soldiers in Algeria. Dutch traders assert dominance in Indonesia, each scene a tableau of imposed rule and inherent tension. Grandeur clashes with subjugation, setting the stage for the struggles to come under the vast colonial empires. Sunlight floods the conference room as Mahatma Gandhi addresses the Indian National Congress, his presence commanding attention. Gandhi gestures, his eyes gleaming with unwavering conviction as he speaks of freedom and resistance. "We must stand firm in our commitment to nonviolent resistance," Gandhi declares, his words resonating with hope. The Algerian street erupts into chaos as protesters clash with French soldiers amidst tear gas and gunfire. Amidst the smoke and screams, Fatima, a young Algerian woman, emerges, her eyes blazing with fierce resolve. Fist raised in defiance, Fatima leads the charge, a symbol of sacrifice against colonial oppression. Electricity revolutionized daily life through artificial lighting and powering appliances. It extended work and leisure hours beyond daylight, transforming homes. This increased productivity and enhanced living standards significantly. Telephones transformed communication through instantaneous voice transmission across distances. This enabled quicker decision-making and more efficient business operations. The technology facilitated globalization and accelerated the pace of commerce. The internet has revolutionized information access and communication worldwide. It enables instant data transfer and supports remote collaboration across geographical boundaries. The internet provides access to extensive knowledge resources, transforming education, commerce, and social interactions. Global trade routes can be visualized as interconnected lines spanning continents. The thickness of these lines represents the volume of trade between countries, illustrating economic interdependence. Major trading hubs are highlighted as data points, demonstrating the complexity of international commerce networks. Digital information flows globally as continuous streams of data packets. These packets represent news, research, and various forms of communication. This highlights the rapid dissemination of knowledge and ideas across international borders via interconnected digital networks. Cultural exchange is visually represented through abstract symbols. These symbols, each representing different cultures, merge and interact. This fusion illustrates the enrichment and diversification from global interactions. Medieval castles were designed with thick stone walls, battlements, and moats, primarily for defense. The architectural style of these castles reflected the feudal society of the time. Security was paramount due to constant warfare and territorial disputes. Renaissance architecture, originating in the 14th century, highlighted symmetry and proportion. Classical elements, such as domes and columns, were integral to Renaissance designs. This architectural style reflected a revival of classical learning and humanist ideals. Modern skyscrapers utilize steel, glass, and concrete in their construction. Elevators and advanced structural engineering enable their height and design. Skyscrapers reflect a focus on efficiency, economic growth, and urban space maximization. The medieval age spanned roughly 1,000 years in European history. This era is characterized by societal stagnation and limited progress in many domains. The period is often referred to as a dark age due to these challenges. The medieval age was characterized by a general absence of modern science. This absence hindered technological and intellectual advancement during the period. Restricted freedoms further limited the exchange of ideas, stifling innovation and societal development. Constant wars and conflicts were a defining characteristic of the medieval age. These conflicts resulted in widespread instability and disruption across society. Warfare diverted resources away from development, hindering progress during the era. The medieval age began around 476 AD, marking a transition after the Roman Empire's decline. This era brought new political entities and cultural norms to Europe. These changes reshaped the continent's structure and societal values. The medieval period extends until approximately 1500 AD. It serves as a transitional era between ancient civilizations and modern society. This period is defined by distinct social, economic, and technological advancements. The medieval age is positioned between the ancient and modern periods. Distinct features of the medieval age include feudalism and the dominance of the church. Evolving artistic expressions also characterized the medieval age, differentiating it from other eras. The Dark Ages saw a decline in education, marked by scattered and decaying texts. This period experienced a significant loss of literacy and learning. The decline in education contributed to a regression in intellectual and cultural pursuits. The ruins of a once thriving Roman city illustrate urban collapse. Overgrown vegetation and crumbling structures signify societal decline. This urban decay resulted in decreased trade, infrastructure, and overall organization. The laborious copying of ancient texts was crucial for preserving Roman knowledge. Limited resources and the slow process contributed to the gradual loss or misinterpretation of information. This loss significantly impacted future progress and understanding of the Roman era. A solitary figure, Alara, trudges along the ruined Roman road, pushing a cart laden with her few belongings. Decay permeates the air as she passes debris and signs of past conflict, the road a mere shadow of its former glory. In the distance, the skeletal remains of a Roman aqueduct loom, a silent witness to a fallen empire. Inside Lord Aaron's crude hall, torches cast long shadows on rough tables where soldiers feast, their boasts filling the tense air. Guards drag young, frail Alara before Aaron, his cold gaze assessing her in the dimly lit, boisterous hall. Lord Aaron, a ruthless figure, watches Alara, the flickering torchlight emphasizing the stark contrast between them. A worn village market struggles under the weight of worry as villagers trade, their faces etched with fear. Raiders storm the market, their sudden arrival shattering the fragile peace with looting and violence. Alara, eyes blazing with defiance, shields a child, pulling them behind a wooden cart amidst the chaos. The king's reliance on nobles is evident in his decision-making process. Nobles' opinions and demands significantly sway the king's choices. This dependence highlights the king's need for their support to maintain power. Land ownership signifies control over extensive resources and manpower. Farmers working the fields represent the labor force tied to the land. Armed guards patrolling the perimeter highlight the power and protection afforded by land ownership. The setting is a legal chamber, filled with dusty, unused law books. The presence of these books symbolizes the ineffectiveness of legal structures within this society. Land control and noble influence take precedence over legal jurisdiction. The feudal system is characterized by a hierarchical structure with the king at the apex. The king delegates land, known as fiefs, to powerful lords. In return, these lords pledge loyalty, military assistance, and advisory support to the king. Lords, as vassals, were granted land by the king, giving them control over both the territory and its inhabitants. They maintained order and administered justice within their domain, acting as local authorities. Lords were also responsible for providing military support to the king, forming a vital part of the feudal system's structure. Peasants formed the base of the feudal pyramid, working land owned by lords. In exchange for labor and a portion of their produce, lords provide protection. This system ensures basic survival and maintains agricultural production. Under the relentless sun, peasants toil in the vast farmland, their bodies bent in perpetual labor. The air vibrates with the sounds of their struggle, the thud of hoes, heavy breaths, and weary sighs. A young boy watches his father, his eyes reflecting both resignation and a stirring rebellion against the endless work. Within the cramped, dimly lit peasant hut, a family gathers, their faces etched with worry. The mother's slow, deliberate stitching by candlelight contrasts with the father's distant, heavy gaze into the fire. Anxieties about the next harvest fill the small space as they share their meager meal. In the village square, peasants gather with faces marked by hope and apprehension. The landowner arrives, his opulent attire a stark contrast to their humble clothes. casting a long shadow. "I am here to announce new taxes, as decreed by the crown," the landowner proclaims, his voice cutting through the silence. Historically, many communities lacked access to hospitals and advanced medical treatments. Illnesses often went untreated due to limited understanding of disease origins. Traditional healing practices were common, but often ineffective for serious diseases. Historically, populations faced pervasive challenges, including disease, hunger, and warfare. Poor sanitation and limited food resulted in widespread malnutrition and susceptibility to infectious diseases. Conflicts intensified these problems, disrupting communities and exacerbating suffering. Harsh living conditions significantly lowered historical life expectancy. Data shows a considerably shorter average lifespan compared to modern times. High infant and child mortality rates reflected the constant struggle for survival. During the medieval period, the church exerted significant control over education. The church dictated the curricula, ensuring that knowledge was filtered through religious doctrine. This control consolidated the church's ideological power by limiting alternative perspectives. Religious beliefs were significantly shaped by the church. This influence instilled a profound fear of God among the general population. Moral codes and societal norms were dictated by religious teachings, reinforcing obedience to church authority. The church wielded considerable influence over kings and political leaders. This influence was exerted through religious pressure and moral authority. Rulers feared divine retribution, making them susceptible to the church's directives. Monasteries served as centers of literacy and learning. Priests and monks cultivated expertise in reading and writing. They acted as custodians of knowledge, preserving and expanding intellectual traditions. Manuscript books were produced through a painstaking hand-copying process. Each volume demanded significant time, skill, and meticulous attention to detail. This laborious production method contributed to the rarity and inherent value of books. The scene depicts common villagers engaged in their everyday routines. These individuals typically lack access to formal education and books. This contrasts sharply with the scholarly activities of the religious elite, highlighting a knowledge disparity. Arrows rained down on the castle, a storm of death and destruction battering the ancient stone walls. The sounds of clashing steel mix with the screams of the dying. A symphony of chaos under a sky choked with smoke. Fires rage within the castle, painting the scene with hues of orange and black, a vision of impending doom. In the dimly lit great hall, long shadows dance as families huddle, seeking warmth and solace in the face of rising dread. An old woman's tales of brave knights weave through the air, her voice a soothing balm against the castle's palpable fear. A lone knight sharpens his sword, the firelight glinting off the steel, his grim face a silent vow of protection. A village lies in ruins, smoke rising from charred homes, painting the sky gray with loss. Villagers search amidst the rubble, their faces etched with grief and despair. Despite the devastation, resilience flickers as they begin to rebuild, clinging to hope. Under the watchful eyes of stern knights, young squires clash swords, their faces determined, sweat glistening in the sun. Arrows whistle through the air, finding their mark with precision, each shot a testament to relentless training. On horseback, they navigate treacherous courses, exhaustion mingling with cries of pain, forging the path to knighthood. Torches flicker in the castle great hall, casting long shadows across the faces of the assembled knights, their laughter echoing amidst a palpable weariness. Long tables groan under the weight of roasted meats and overflowing goblets, a feast masking hidden scars and the weight of countless battles. A heated debate erupts, voices rising above the din, the knights arguing about chivalry amidst the brutality of war, their expressions etched with moral compromise. On the battlefield, armies clash amidst a storm of steel, a symphony of destruction echoing through the air. Knights, their armor stained crimson, engage in brutal combat, each parry a desperate fight for survival. The stench of blood and fear permeates the muddy ground, shattering the romanticized image of knighthood. Subsistence farming is characterized by growing just enough food to sustain a family. This approach reduces dependence on external markets and monetary transactions. It also fosters self-sufficiency within small, localized communities. In village economies, limited trade often led to the prevalence of barter systems. Barter involved the direct exchange of goods and services without using money. Farmers traded surplus crops for essential tools or handcrafted items, fostering a local exchange network. Barter involves direct negotiation of value between goods and services. A farmer might trade crops for a blacksmith's services. Both parties agree on the equivalent value of the exchange. Basic plows, often constructed from wood, were crucial for early agriculture. These plows were typically animal-drawn and facilitated soil tilling for planting. The simple design and material limitations of these plows resulted in lower agricultural yields. Early warfare commonly featured swords crafted from rudimentary metals. These early swords lacked the durability and sharpness of later steel weapons. Combat effectiveness depended heavily on the user's skill and strength due to metallurgical limitations. Simple tools like hammers and axes were commonly used for various tasks. These tools were made from basic materials and lacked advanced features. Slow innovation resulted in infrequent, incremental improvements, limiting productivity. Architectural advancements progressed despite the period's difficulties. New construction methods and styles were introduced, resulting in more intricate and robust buildings. These innovations provided a base for subsequent architectural successes. Religious art continued to thrive, mirroring the era's spiritual and cultural foundations. Artists innovated with new expressive techniques, blending devotion with aesthetics. These artworks offer valuable perspectives on historical religious practices and artistic tastes. Universities emerged as centers for formal education. They facilitated the revival of scholarly pursuits and intellectual exchange. These institutions contributed to preserving and advancing knowledge. New artistic styles emerged in painting and sculpture. Architectural designs adapted, leading to innovative construction techniques. These developments reflect the creativity and skill of artisans. Religious institutions significantly shaped social structures and cultural practices during this era. Religious art and music experienced a period of flourishing, mirroring profound spiritual convictions. These artistic expressions fostered a sense of community and reinforced shared beliefs. Early universities emerged as centers for intellectual inquiry and knowledge preservation. These institutions played a crucial role in accumulating and disseminating information. The gradual growth of universities marked a significant advancement in learning and scholarship. The printing press significantly lowered the cost and time needed to produce books. Prior to its invention, texts were handwritten, making them scarce and costly. Mass production via the printing press democratized information access and fostered widespread literacy. Increased availability of printed materials led to broader access to education. More schools and universities were established, expanding educational opportunities. This rise in literacy fostered critical thinking and broadened intellectual horizons among the population. The availability of knowledge and widespread education accelerated societal change. New ideas spread rapidly, fostering innovation and challenging traditional norms. This led to societal transformation where change became a constant and unstoppable force. Gray sky. Peasants trudged through muddy fields, their clothes tattered, their movements heavy with unspoken burdens. Buildings of roughly hewn wood and stone stand as silent witnesses to a stagnant life, where tradition and constraint reign. The village breathes a somber air, reflecting the limited scope of knowledge and innovation. Cultural vibrancy seems a distant dream. Sunlight bathes the Florence workshop, illuminating sculptures and paintings amidst scattered scientific tools. Artists and scholars converge, their animated discussions filling the vibrant space with the spirit of innovation. The air buzzes with energy, a symphony of ideas echoing the revival of classical art and scientific inquiry. A vibrant European city thrives in the daylight, where cathedrals and universities blend faith and reason. Merchants hawk exotic goods, their lively trade symbolizing commerce's reach and cultural exchange. A printing press churns out books, pages promising the democratization of knowledge, heralding a new era. Modern European political structures originate from kingdoms and empires of the medieval age. Territorial evolution and early governance forms during this era shape today's nation-states. Map animations can illustrate the historical progression and establishment of these political entities. Religion significantly shaped medieval society and continues to impact modern European culture. Cathedrals and monasteries served as centers for education, art, and knowledge preservation. These architectural marvels reflect the profound influence of religion on societal values and cultural development. Medieval social hierarchies and economic systems were foundational for modern norms. The feudal system, guilds, and trade routes shaped Europe's economic and social structure. These systems influenced the development of modern economic practices and social fabrics. Buzzes. Peasants work the fields in rhythmic harmony, their labor a dance of survival. Livestock graze, voices hum, crafting a rustic symphony around simple homes. Craftsmen hammer, sew, their skills weaving threads of trade and community across vast fields. Inside the medieval church, villagers listen intently, their faces a canvas of hope and solemnity in the dim light. Sunlight filters through stained glass windows, casting vibrant colors on the devout congregation, a scene of profound faith. Faith offers solace amidst hardship. The sermon, a beacon of guidance in their challenging lives. The battlefield is a maelstrom of smoke and steel, a stark contrast to the serene village. Soldiers clash in a desperate dance of survival, the ever-present threat of war looming large. The life of peasants in medieval Europe echoes across the ravaged landscape.